Would you like to learn from those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level? Best-selling author of Speakeasy and master connector Lou Diamond is here to connect you to some of the most inspiring and amazing people on this planet. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another spectacular, fantabulous, absolutely awesome episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond, and today on Thrive Loud, we have the world's most respected sexual biohacker with a focus on extending your sex span to lengthen your health span. She's a best-selling author of over 44 books. She's the co-founder and CEO of 2 companies. She's the official spokesperson for Gainswave's sexual regenerative treatment protocol. Thrive Loud listeners and viewers, the intimacy expert for millions, Susan Bratton. Susan, welcome.
Lou, hello. It's very nice to see you and to be here. Thanks so much for having me. I'm glad we're working together a little bit with the Gainswave brand. It's been something that's been near and dear to my heart for 7 years. I've been their official company spokesperson. Yeah. And I actually went to them. One day, 7 years ago, I said to my husband, I love what this company is doing. I want to talk about them everywhere all the time. Let's go to Florida and meet them and just see what's up with them. And 7 years later, we still have a fantastic relationship together. It's really been my honor to work with them. And so that's how you and I got connected, which is great. Yeah. A lot of people don't know about them. And that's why I'm like, let me tell more people, because it's a game changer for extending your sex span to extend your health span.
And for the record, she is the right person to be telling this message, and they're an amazing company program. We'll get to them. I want to do a rewind. I want to talk about you. Sure. For the viewers watching on YouTube right now, this show has never looked better. She is one stunning individual, and here is what I want to start with.
Okay.
Susan, I want to understand how this became your gig. Has sexual activity, vibrancy, has sex always been the focus of what you've been about?
No, it's really my second career, Lou. When I was in my early 40s, I was in the Silicon Valley. I'd been in the Silicon Valley for about 15 years. My husband and I were married for 12 years, and we'd both been startup people. And my husband's actually the inventor of Rhapsody, which was like pre-Spotify, et cetera. And we were busy with our careers. We had a little girl, and frankly, our sex life just kind of went by the wayside. Mostly because it just wasn't that great for me. He would have been happy to do it all the time. And there was a point at which we were thinking about getting divorced because we had lost our connection, lost our spark. And, I love my husband. I literally love him so much. This is my 34th year with him now, all these years later. And we're the kind of people where if we have a problem, we search the internet, we buy a book, we take a class, we talk to people. And that's one of the reasons I was actually excited to be on your show today, not just to hang out with you, but because your show to me, it collects people who know that they're lifelong learners. They care about executive development, career development, personal development. And people who care about their sexuality, they're in that category. They're like, what else can I learn? How can I fix this problem? What do I need to do? They look at everything in life that way. And so that was how we were. We would have been your viewers that long ago, had you done the show that long ago. And we just decided we'd solve our problem. We went to therapy. We took some workshops. We did all kinds of things. We walked on fire with Tony Robbins. We did all kinds of things. We were really going through a massive growth in our own evolution as intimate partners. And what we realized was, wow, if someone just tells you what to do, sex is actually pretty easy. We should bring all of these workshops we're taking onto the internet and digitally deliver them. So when a couple of tech nerds take some sex workshops, that creates personal life media, which is what it was. And I've actually only written 34 of those 44 books and programs. Personal Life Media, my first company here in the sexuality world, is a publisher of passionate lovemaking techniques and bedroom communication skills. And so I started off publishing the work of my mentors who were so transformational for my marriage. Because in our early 40s, with all of our friends in the Silicon Valley, we saw them getting divorced, dropping like flies. And we knew it wasn't money, and it's either sex or money, or there are other issues, but that's like the 80-20, right? Pareto's principle. So, when we rekindled our marriage, we had such an incredible renaissance. It was so amazing. And it was actually pretty easy. And we thought, gosh, let's just bring this stuff to the rest of the world. And so for the last 2 decades, now I was 42 at that time, and our company's almost 18 years old. It'll be 18 years old this year. And we've been digitally delivering content that helps people have a great sex life, a really great marriage, relationship, partnership. And what I realized is that there's really 3 legs to a very stable stool of your sex life. One of them is you have to understand techniques. You have to understand the body's operating system. You have to understand how passion and love making work and what you can do. So there's technique. Then there's communication skills, because without communication skills, you ain't gonna get very far. You can know all the techniques in the world, but if you can't know what you want, ask for what you want, be willing to hear feedback, share that information, then it's no good. And then the third leg of that stool is intimate wellness. We just don't get a lot of education about how to keep all the parts working as we age. And so that's ultimately what did lead me to Gainswave. Because their treatment is like, I couldn't find anything better. So that's why I was such a champion. That's why I went to them and I was like, let me help you. But it's really about intimate wellness as people enter menopause and andropause, as the tissues thin, as the erectile dysfunction, loss of sensation starts to hit. You got to know what to do to reverse it, because it's easy to fix it if you know there's a solution. So that's how I started. 18 years later, I'm still working with my husband. I'm more madly in love with him than ever. He's been a fantastic partner. I joke that we run a 21st century mom and pop shop. And we were very early in as remote workers, and we were very early in working with an internationally distributed team who are still with us to this day. We have people who've been working with us in our company for 15 years or more. And that's very important to us, that continuity. We are so good together. We're so efficient. Our turnover is minuscule. And I think that's because we have this kind of like we're in it together forever mentality, where the people are really, really important, and we are growing old and aging together in a good way and taking care of each other. And that makes us fast and good. What's so funny this morning, Tim, my husband, he sent out an email with a link. He's in a mastermind called Driven. He's in a mastermind. I run a business mastermind for sex educators called the Intimacy Alliance. So we're very mastermind oriented. And Perry Belcher, whom you probably know, if you haven't had him on the show, let me know. I'd love to introduce you. He's wonderful. Perry just sent out something that is how to create AI employees, the step-by-step process for creating AI employees. And Tim sent it out to our whole team and was like, here, you just got a promotion, make yourself some employees.
I love it.
I do too.
I want to do a little choose your own adventure here, because there's 2 avenues that I know our listeners want to pursue. There is the business aspect to what you've been doing for the last 18 years. And there is this topic that you cover, because I'm going to start there because I'll get to the business piece.
Sure.
Dealing with sex, there's a lot of things that people have issues with. You're right. It's not only just, as time goes on or certain things, people aren't working on their relationship as well, or physically communicating, all the 3 legs of the stand that you're referring to. But there's also just an initial hesitation, could be from religion or family or
Right.
conservatism, whatever it
Shame.
might be,
Yeah.
of dealing with sex. And what I have to give you credit for from a marketing perspective is you go right at it and you really dive into and owning this space. How do
Yeah.
you help the people you work with really get over that initial speed bump, that initial hurdle? Because that is a big one. I know that that's one that, like, I know couples will have challenges talking about it, feel uncomfortable, or
Yeah.
get through that piece. Help me understand how you help them break through that little barrier.
I have always been lion-hearted. I have courage. It's one of my superpowers. It may be my biggest superpower. And so I have the courage to talk about sexual conversation. I'm a natural educator, so I like to teach people things. And what I found is the more that I'm just a straight talker. Let me just tell you, let me just give it to you straight. Let me tell you what's going on, how things work, what to do step by step. Here's why you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You just didn't get these pieces of information, etc. That people really appreciate me just talking about sex as naturally as I would talk about where I had a meal last night or where I'm going to go on a hike or my latest workout routine. And when you treat people like adults and you're not like all, ooh, we're going to talk about sharks, and you get all weird about it. Sometimes when podcasters do an introduction on a show and they're like, now we're going to talk about sex. If there's any kids in the room, make sure that you got your, and then I say, hang on a second. Would you mind just redoing that? They already know they're going to listen to a show about sex because they can tell by the title of the segment. Don't embarrass them or shame them for feeling that it's interesting to them. It was interesting to you. Why should you do this weird thing? And so they're like, oh, God, I guess that's probably true. Okay, you're right. Yeah, let me do it. Let me redo your introduction. And at first I felt really bad. At first I would let it go by. And then I was like, no, I got to say something about this here. Let's not add more shame to the shame pile. That's what everyone else in the world has done. I'm here to stand in the power of knowledge. What creates fear? What creates contraction? Lack of knowledge, lack of access to information. And that's literally my job, is to teach people those things. So that's, I think, why it's easy for me, because I'm doing it for you. I'm standing strong for you to lean into that strength.
I love this conversation in and of itself. Just want to let it be out there that I would say you're right. It is around maybe it's around the time your kids are older. It depends when you have kids. My wife and I have been empty nesters for several years. Our kids are on their own. And I don't think we're as vocal about it outside of the house, but we're pretty vocal about it inside. And there is absolutely a love language that we're determining and figuring out. And this is actually what's really important. I recognize that you're helping people make love from having sex. And I think what I love about this premise with this is you're right. You need to have these conversations to keep the communication going, but also, great point. The education and gap there is ginormous. And the question of whether people are hacks or really doing the real biohack that's really going to help today is what's changing the world, because I think people like yourself are really giving the real solutions that are working. Let's talk about that and dancing around it, because there's a lot of pretenders out there and not contenders. In a lot of the work that you do, dispelling myths or any of those things, or really finding the people who are really focused on this, how much are you interacting and helping to clarify that message versus just really just getting into the meat of it?
Usually what I have to do that people find helpful is I have to talk about the difference between male and female arousal, because a lot of women think there's something wrong with their libido. They don't have any desire. But what's happened is that we live in a world that's mostly dominated by visuals, media, content, that everything is about the pace of men's arousal, which is very fast, compared to women's arousal, which is quite slow. And women feel like there's something wrong with them if they're not like ready to go and horny all the time like their husbands are. And that's just the difference between living in a testosterone versus an estrogen dominant body. And when a partner when a woman thinks there's something wrong with her, then her husband's like, okay, well, I guess there's something wrong with you, but I still want to have sex. And that's reasonable too. And thank goodness for all those horny horn dogs. We love you guys. And more, it's also men that are having issues like erectile dysfunction earlier and earlier, loss of low testosterone from all the endocrine disruptors that are out in the world, and a lot of sedentary people and eating poorly, and that's just exacerbated over the years. But when people start to hear how the female and male body are really very different and come to understand them, one of the things that men say to me a lot is, what's the number one sex technique? They always want the one simple trick, And I say, okay, well, I'll give it to you. Here's what it is. Slow down, turn around, come back and get us. Because we're not where you are. We're not there yet. We just have a different rhythm. One way that a lot of people think about sexuality is that, and this is always generalizations because sex is a big bell curve. There are people at each end, but there's a big clump in the middle. And the big clump in the middle of people are that women are more responsive to seduction and romance and, more foreplay and all of those kinds of things. And men are a little more spontaneous and ready to go and, up for it any time. And when you realize that that's actually perfectly normal and that's just the way we're wired, you can begin to work and play with those differences in dynamic. And it really makes people feel a lot better that there's nothing wrong with either one of you, that this is just how we are. And what I move on to is, okay, so how are you going to have more sex, better sex that feels really satisfying for both of you? What does that look like now that you understand the difference between the fast and the slow twitch human with regard to intimacy?
First of all, you're welcome earlier for thanking the horn dogs of the world, and we are very appreciative of it. And everything.
I'm appreciative too. You guys do a lot of heavy lifting.
I'll make it clear that it's one of those things in my entire life. I used to think that there was something wrong with me, and then we would talk to other guys. I'm like, nope,
Yeah.
we're just as normal.
Exactly.
And I would say that the other thing that happens is because we need people like Susan in the world, or have the conversations about it, because to compare one person's sexual relationship with anyone else is almost impossible, because each individuals and relationships have different things that turn them on, different libidos, different vibrancies, if you would, or that work in different times of how things are. I used to be incredibly jealous of a very good friend of mine because him and his wife were having sex at a level, at a rate each week that I couldn't even possibly fathom, and they're no longer together. So who knows what those, it doesn't always solve all problems. It would be nice to solve some of them. But I think what you do, the education piece, but also the helping people center themselves. I love that term. Slow down, turn around, and get back on the same.
Come back and get us.
Come back and get you. Well, we'll work on that. But let's talk about some. There are some extremes out there, and I'm going to go with extremes that there are women who have incredibly high libidos. There are men with very, very low ones, and I think this is what we're all trying to do, is to try to understand what's best for us. What's best for you? What's been you? Obviously, it's hard. When drinking the Kool-Aid and doing all the things that you do. You've been working on stuff yourself, but obviously giving that advice out and then learning other information in the circles that you play in. What has been brought back into your life that's been something that you've been able to learn from others or bring into your bedroom?
Oh my gosh, I have so many fun things that I love to do all the time. And I always have new ideas of things that I want to do in the bedroom. And I've been doing this for 20 years and I have not run out of ideas. I always have like a lineup of things that are new things that I want to try. And I have a pretty, my brand is heart-connected, conscious, passionate lovemaking. Those are the specific words that have defined what I do for 2 decades. And the reason that they are is that you mentioned it earlier. You said you like to transform having sex into making love. I am a lovey-dovey, sensual woman. I love languid lovemaking and deep kissing and lots of full body touch and words of adoration and sharing little fantasies and trying new toys and technologies and trying new positions and all kinds of stuff. And I am always improving on everything that I'm doing, because ultimately what I do is I'm not a therapist. I don't sit in an office and deal with fixing problems. I'm kind of the opposite of that. I'm like the plus up. I write passionate lovemaking techniques. I write bedroom communication skills. What I'm teaching you to do is have hot sex. That's literally what I do. I'm a publisher of lovemaking techniques. And so I'm always improving on how I teach those things, new ideas, new things you can learn. I take a lot of ideas from other things that I see. And like I said, I work with about 40 other legendary international sexologists, experts, authors, producers, creators in the field of lovemaking. And we all work together. We have a 2-hour call on a weekly basis where there's 20 or 30 or 40 of us on the call, sharing ideas, promoting each other's work, asking about opportunities, getting opportunities and giving them to others when we can't take advantage of them. And so I never stop learning and growing and adding more value to those people who follow me. That being said, I'm not the one that you come to fix your marriage. And I'm not the one that's going to teach you how to do, to be a dom or to do BDSM. I'm pretty much a dude and his lady, heterosexual, monogamous, hot sex. And so I think like any business, you gotta know your niche. And now my niche happens to be the big bell curve in the middle. Everybody is mostly that, but then there's lots of people on the edges, and I'll help them where I can. But I know that really it's the long-term serially monogamous people who care about their pleasure. They want it to be very exciting and very satisfying. And that's what I really focus on.
We're going to jump lanes on that highway, and we're going to go back to that fork in the road we were at before. I want to talk about the business that you run. And as a leader, you are doing a lot of things. Let me just list them off as best as I can here. Obviously, you're leading 2 companies. You are creating content constantly. You are meeting with other masterminds in your space, other leaders in the sexual wellness space. You are showing up on amazing podcast shows and doing all this stuff. These are a lot of hats and a lot of jobs. Speaking
from stage.
Yes. And
that takes a lot of time.
Totally. You are doing a tremendous amount of work in different roles. I love asking leaders this question. We try to decode what makes you thrive, Susan.
Yeah.
If you get to wake up every morning and all those hats of all those roles are out there, which hat do you like putting on most?
Well, the ones that I do. The Rainmaker one is a really good one for me. I'm a money maker. I want to make money. I like abundance. I have an abundance mindset, and I like to do deals. I'm a win-win creator, and I'm the one always looking at revenue, always looking at the numbers, thinking about how I can do deals that make everyone win. And so I'd say that's my number 1 role. My number 2 role is the educator. And content creator, the writer, the author of 34 books and programs. I have a lot to say. And my third piece is what I would consider to be traffic generation, which is what podcasts do for me, what speaking from the stage does for me. Honestly, the podcasts are fantastic. I do 100 podcasts a year, and I love the medium. I think the medium is so wonderful. First of all, it's an uncensored medium, so I actually can talk about the things that I do, which is very nice. I like the dynamic of conversation between the host and the guest, so I really enjoy the questions that you ask me. It gives me an opportunity to educate, to give back, to provide value, which I enjoy. And it drives a lot of good traffic for me. That is very difficult for me because I'm in what Perry Belcher calls a bad bad neighborhood business, which is sexuality. It's very difficult to get traffic. I'm shadow banned on social media. It's just hard work. My affiliates, who used to be a big part of my business, honestly, they've all dried up because they just can't afford the traffic anymore. It's very, very difficult to get traffic. So I do different things. And one of them is podcasts and offering free gifts that people are like, oh, and one of the other things that I like that I think is really another kind of vote for podcasting is that with podcasts, people have the opportunity to watch or listen to you. And they'll either be like, oh my God, I love her, or, ugh, I cannot stand her, or I'm neutral, and they were kind of, it's 30, 30, 30. And when you hit a certain level of fame and you realize, oh my gosh, okay, there's going to be a lot of people who don't like who I am. And I'm okay with that. We're not a match, and I'm fine with that. But what podcasting lets you do is your people find you. And the ones who are like, I love her, they come into my world. They get on my email newsletter and they're like, how can she give away all this stuff for free? This is crazy. And then they're hooked because they try something, it works. Because that's the great thing about teaching sexuality is our human operating system is our human operating system. If I give you the steps to achieve this thing that you want to achieve, you do it the first time, you're like, okay, we did okay. I mean, I think I'd try it again. Try it again. The second time you're like, oh, I see. Oh yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah. Third time you're like, oh, I see what you're talking about. Now I see what you were telling me to do. I got it. Wow. And so it's really nice to have that effect. And it's the know, like, and trust, ascension model where they have to find out about you, which podcasts give you. And then they have to hear you and say, do I like her or not? Okay, I like her. And then they come into your world and you give them so much that they're like, oh, okay, she's not just trying to get me to buy something. She's super generous with her content. This is amazing. She doesn't ever make me feel like I have to buy anything, only if I want to. And that's just been a really good formula for me for decades. So podcasting is my pipeline. I love it. Speaking from stage is fun. I do enjoy it. I mean, there's nothing better than a live audience. And I get to do my Susie's sexy show and tells and give things away and show giant pictures of genitals illustrated on very large screens. And people are like, I didn't even know I had all those parts. It's really fun. I love that. But to me, the volume, the traffic is in the world of podcasting. And so that's why I love to work with a great publicist who understands how to place me and gets me out there in the world doing the thing I love to do. It's a perfect match for me.
I love it. In 2021, I gave a speech about making money. I had previously been on a podcast show showing people how they can monetize the podcast. But then I went on and I gave a speech to a whole series, about 150 professional speakers, about how you can make money as a guest. And one of the things I talked about was very much what you talk about. It is putting yourself front and center. And I actually said, how great would it be if you were on a show at least once a week and someone else was promoting you? What would you pay to have someone promote you, market you every single week of the year? And I put up numbers of what people would do it. And I go, well, why aren't you on a show every week? And it started into this whole rabbit hole of ways that you can monetize. What I love about what you do, and I do agree with you on this, reason I'm bringing this up, I live down in South Florida. I think at the beginning of this year, they had blocked even more content as it relates to sexual type of things like pornography or whatever it was. A huge amount of anything with sexual stuff got blocked. And I do recognize that there is a marketing challenge you face in your brand because of the words and the overlap of where things are in that fine line, and it makes it challenging. And this medium enables you, exactly as you said, to get the message across and get direct. It's really, really sharp and a smart way of, I don't want to say circumventing, but getting to the audience that needs to hear what you have to say. And I think that's spectacular.
It was funny. I got an email from a girlfriend of mine that I've known for decades now. We served on a board together a couple of decades ago. And she said, hey, I've got this person from MIT and an entrepreneur from MIT and an entrepreneur from Goldman Sachs, and they want to create this sexuality digital offering. And I was wondering if you'd be willing to take a meeting with them. And I spoke into my chat GPT and I was like, Sarah, no way. I love you dearly. And I really appreciate you thinking of me, but you do not want me to talk to them, because all I would do is be like, this is the worst idea ever. You will not be able to monetize it. There's no institutional investors. You'll never get an exit. Look at OnlyFans. Like, it's just a terrible idea. Get out now and start a real business. And I said that into ChatGPT, and then I said, please now make this sound really nice and sweet and not so, like horrible. And it wrote some really nice things for me, and I sent it to Sarah, and she replied, and she's like, that was the kindest way I've ever heard to say no to someone. And she's like, I totally get it. And I didn't have the heart to tell her. I had to run it through my chat filters so that it wouldn't be so harsh, because it's just it's such a tough market. But I wouldn't, if I had to go back and do it again, I would not be in this business. But you know what it's like when you're an entrepreneur with a passion. You got to do what you got to do. So luckily, having a Filipino team that has kept my costs low, having my husband, who is absolutely brilliant with tech and finance, has kept us going. I mean, all our competitors are out of business. No one's running the business. No one's running a business at the scale we're running it anymore. There's nobody left. And that's because we're scrappy AF and we're super technological. Both of us are. I mean, the fact that we're asking our employees to create chat bots that replace the work that they're doing so they can go on and do better things is testament to the fact that we are on our stuff with regard to how we're running our business. So it's just hard to keep up with that stuff unless you're, Silicon Valley indigenous people from the get-go, willing to work decades on a tough business. It's a really tough business.
Let's do the admin part of the show, Susan. Share with the listeners all the places people can find you, wherever they can connect with you.
Yeah. Well, I'm on all the socials, most of the socials, and that's fine. But in all honesty, if you want to connect with me, it's best to just get on my Better Lover newsletter. That's my newsletter that comes out 2 days a week and gives you passionate lovemaking techniques. And frankly, if you don't want any passionate lovemaking techniques, you probably don't want to be in contact with me anyway. So betterlover.com is the way to go. And if you reply to any email that you get sent from my newsletter twice a week, you can ask me anything and I will reply. So that's the best way, betterlover.com.
Perfect. We will put that link in the show notes along with some other very cool things that you can find Susan. And Susan, I know you've been born ready, but I will ask you, are you ready to go down the Thrive Loud fun street?
Of course,
here?
darling. Yeah, let's go.
All right, let's start.
I'm riding your ride, Lou.
We're going to ease onto the highway here. We call it the Speakeasy Pub Crawl, which is we're going to start going to all the fun spots that mean a lot to Susan. But we're going to start off with this one. Susan gets stuck on a desert island and she has 3 movies that she has to watch. It's the only 3 DVDs, I would say. But it's 3 streaming services, I guess, at this point that you could have. What 3 movies are some of Susan's favorites?
Oh, God. I don't know. I'd probably watch anything Taylor Sheridan did.
Okay.
I like all those cowboy movies and things. My husband and I seem to enjoy those. I'd probably watch anything Nicole Kidman did. I like all her freaky shit. Those are fun. Gosh, what else would I watch? I don't know. I don't watch that much television. I'm not a big movie buff. I mean, It's hard for me to even find that. There are other things I'd rather do with my time, frankly.
I can only imagine. All right.
Exactly, Lou.
Susan, do you have a song of late that's one of your jams? Like something that's in your head?
No, but I would really like to hear Every Bass Drop from Coachella. Coachella was lit this year. I've been watching a lot of video on socials and man, did they do an incredible job. EDM, electronic dance music, is really nice right now. So probably, Coachella, Spotify mix lists would be what I would listen to.
Favorite food that's not a dessert?
Oh gosh, probably, I cook at home all the time. As a matter of fact, my husband, all he has to do is just sit around and food is served to him. Like he's the luckiest man in the world, and it's all homemade and delicious because I'm hella cook. Maybe my roasted, crispy skinned chicken thighs
Ooh,
on leeks and potatoes and with buttery thyme.
okay.
It made my mouth water thinking about it.
And what are we going to have for dessert? Your favorite dessert?
I mean, I try not to eat too much sugar, so I would probably say I'd take that glass of Rioja instead of a dessert.
Oh, I like that call. An activity you wish you did more of?
Ride my mountain bike.
Mhm.
I have an electronic mountain bike, an electric
Mhm.
mountain bike, specialized Levo Superlight. And I live on Mount Tam, which is what this mountain looks like behind me. And I can ride right out of my garage and I can ride straight up the mountain. And I absolutely love it. And spring has sprung here. The wisteria are in bloom. It smells heavenly around here. And tomorrow I am getting on my bike and I am blasting up that hill. And I would ride every day. As a matter of fact, in the summer, also have a summer house down in San Diego area, and I have an electric bike down there. It's a road bike instead because there's not that many mountains there. I'm at the beach, and it has these big panniers on it,
Mhm.
and I ride that everywhere to the point where I had to drive someplace, and I got in my car, and I'm like, how do I even
How do I
how
operate
do
this
I
thing?
undo the parking brake in this damn thing? Like I hadn't ridden it so long. I will carry as much weight as I possibly can from the grocery store in my panniers. And, I love to challenge myself with bike riding.
An activity you wish you did less of?
Sitting at my desk, but my brain is on fire right now. I'm like, the wisdom of your 60s is for real.
Mm.
Like everything is just gelling. I've got so many things I want to write and say and produce and tell people. So sitting in front of my computer less and less would be nice.
A new activity, one that Susan Bratton has recently tried that she likes so much she wants to tell all the listeners and viewers to try.
Well, I'd say my favorite newer thing is that I go to a longevity center from both my houses, southern and northern. I live in towns that have longevity centers, which is
Yeah.
fantastic. There's a lot of good looking old people around here, I got to tell you. And it's nice to live in a community where you're seeing 70 and 80 and 90-year-old people fit as a fiddle wandering around town. It's really great to see the people ahead of me doing so well. And as a biohacker, that's important. So one of the things that I really like is I like to do the Vasper and the ARX. The Vasper is vascular performance. It's like a high intensity interval training with blood flow restriction
Mhm.
that really gets you buffed. So I am sliding through my 60s, packing on as much muscle as I can. And I like that. And I like something called the ARX, Adaptive Resistance Cross Trainer. And it uses eccentric and concentric movements. So you're pushing and then you're resisting. You Hulk out with that stuff. So my favorite thing in the world is when my pants are too tight because my quads be busting. I love that. So that's what is relatively new for me and something that I think is coming for so many more people. I try to build awareness around it because it's 20-minute workouts that are like spending an hour or two in the gym. So it's great for busy executives as well.
Two more questions to put a bow on this amazing episode. If I could snap my fingers and Susan Bratton could be anywhere in the world,
Yeah.
where is she?
Oh gosh. Well, I'll tell you, I wouldn't mind hitting the slopes like today. There's been so much great snow right now, so maybe you could drop me at Chamonix.
Okay, I like it.
I
The
like it
last
too.
question before we wrap up here.
Yeah.
Obviously, you probably, whether you know it or not, have helped a tremendous amount of people
Yeah.
with the guidance you've ever had. Is there a moment or a story when someone shared their feedback with you about
Mhm.
something that not only made you feel good that you knew what you did, but kind of touched your heart?
That happens for me every single day, Lou. I have an inbox full of love. I have DMs full of love. I've got comments on my socials full of love. I get to be in a job where people are so appreciative of the straight talk and the information that I give. And I get to change people's lives, and in a really important part of their lives, what happens behind closed doors, the intimate connection and pleasure that's so important for us. So I would say there couldn't possibly be a single story, but there are literally thousands and thousands and thousands of them. And I know I don't take a single one of those for granted.
And I think we just added 10,000 or so more onto this episode. The intimacy expert for millions, Susan Bratton. Truly an honor to have you. Great to have you on the show. Thank you for what you're doing.
So nice to be here.
Keep thriving loud.
Thank you.
To all our listeners out there, keep moving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.